The black warship moved through space like a ghost. No lights showed on its hull. No signals came from its engines. The ship was huge, bigger than 3 city blocks put together. Its name was painted in white letters on the side, UES Retribution, but no one could see those letters now. The ship was invisible. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and looked at the screens in front of him. 3 planets hung in space ahead of them. Each planet was green and blue, covered with cities and farms. Millions of aliens lived on those worlds. They had no idea death was coming for them. Jake was 42 years old with gray hair and cold blue eyes. He had been fighting aliens for 20 years. But this mission was different. This time, he was not here to capture or negotiate. He was here to kill everything. Amy Foster sat at the sensor station. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair. Her fingers moved across the controls as she watched the alien planets. "Captain," she said quietly, "I count 400 million life signs across all 3 worlds." Jake nodded. He had expected that number. The aliens called themselves the Zalani. They looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. They had built a big empire across this part of the galaxy. They thought they were strong. They thought they could do whatever they wanted to humans. They were wrong. 6 months ago, the Zalani had attacked a human colony called New Portland. It was a peaceful world with farms and schools and families. The humans there had never hurt anyone. They just wanted to grow food and raise their children. The Zalani fleet had come without warning. They had fired their weapons from space and burned everything. Every city, every town, every farm. 2,300,000 humans had died in one day. Men, women, children, babies, all of them turned to ash. The Zalani admiral had sent a message after the attack. He said humans were pests that needed to be removed. He said New Portland was just the beginning. He laughed when he said it. Now Jake Morrison had come to show the Zalani what humans did to those who hurt their families. Ben Collins walked up to Jake's chair. Ben was the intelligence officer, a thin man with glasses who knew everything about alien races. "Captain," he said, "we have confirmed there are no humans on any of the 3 planets. The area is clear for operation." Jake looked at the screens again. The first planet was called Zalani Prime. It was their home world, where their government lived. 50 million aliens were down there right now, eating dinner with their families, putting their children to bed, thinking they were safe. The second planet was Zalani Beta. It was their main industrial world, where they built their ships and weapons. 100 million aliens worked in the factories there. The third planet was Zalani Gamma. It was their farming world, where they grew food. 250 million aliens lived there in small towns and cities. All 3 planets had defense systems, big guns pointed at the sky, shield generators that could stop most attacks, fighter ships ready to launch. The Zalani thought these things would protect them. They were wrong about that, too. Lisa Parker worked at the weapons station. She was 30 years old with red hair and steady hands. She had been practicing for this moment for months. The ship's main weapons were something new, something the aliens had never seen before. Plasma lances that could burn through anything, hot as the center of a star. "Weapons are ready, Captain," Lisa said. Her voice was calm, but Jake could see the anger in her eyes. Lisa had lost her brother on New Portland. He had been a teacher there. Ryan Davis called out from the engineering station. He was a big man with a beard who took care of the ship's engines and power systems. "All systems running perfect, sir. The plasma generators are at full power. We can fire for 24 hours straight if we need to." Kate Williams sat at the communication station. She was listening to the alien radio signals from the planets below. The Zalani were talking about normal things: work, family, what to have for dinner. They had no idea what was about to happen. "Captain," Kate said, "should I try to contact them? Give them a chance to surrender?" Jake thought about that. He remembered the message from New Portland. The last transmission from the colony before the Zalani burned it. A little girl crying for her mother. A man begging for help that would never come. "No," Jake said. "They had their chance to be humans 6 months ago. They chose to be monsters instead." Dr. Sam Turner looked up from his medical station. Sam was the ship's doctor, a kind man who hated what they were about to do. But he understood why it had to happen. "Captain, the crew is ready. I have sedatives prepared for anyone who needs them afterward. Jake nodded. He knew this would be hard on his people. They were soldiers, but they were also human. Killing 400 million beings in one day would mark their souls forever, but sometimes good people had to do terrible things to protect those they loved. All stations report ready, Jake said into his microphone. His voice went to every part of the ship. 800 human crew members heard him speak. Today, we make sure no alien ever hurts our families again. Today, we show the galaxy what happens when you murder human children. He looked at the 3 planets one more time. In a few minutes, they would be dead worlds covered in ash and glass. Begin the attack. The UES Retribution dropped its stealth field like a predator showing its teeth. Suddenly, the massive ship appeared on every Zilani sensor screen across the 3 planets. Alarms started screaming in alien defense centers, but it was already too late. Lisa Parker pressed the firing button. The ship's plasma lance array came to life with a sound like thunder. 12 massive cannons emerged from hidden panels along the ship's hull. Each cannon was as long as a football field and as wide as a house. They glowed white-hot as power flowed through them. The first beam of plasma shot down toward Zilani Prime. It was a column of fire hotter than the center of a star. The beam hit the planet's largest city in less than a second. The city vanished, just gone. Where 50,000 aliens had been living, there was now a crater of melted rock 5 miles wide. Direct hit on the capital, Amy Foster reported from her sensor station. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook a little. The government center is completely destroyed. Jake Morrison watched the tactical display as more plasma beams rained down on the planet. Each beam erased another city. The Zilani tried to raise their shields, but the plasma cut through them like they were made of paper. Their defense systems had never faced anything like this. The alien fighters launched from bases on all 3 planets. Hundreds of small ships rose into space, firing their weapons at the human warship. Their lasers and missiles hit the Retribution's shields and bounced off harmlessly. Ryan Davis laughed from his engineering station. Their weapons can't even scratch our paint, Captain. Our shields are holding at 98%. The human ship had been built with technology far beyond what the aliens possessed. While the Zilani had spent centuries fighting each other with old weapons, humans had been forced to innovate. Every human colony that was attacked taught them something new. Every human death made them stronger. Lisa Parker targeted the alien fighters with the ship's point defense systems. Hundreds of small laser turrets tracked the enemy ships and fired. The alien fighters exploded one by one, their wreckage falling back toward the planets like burning rain. All enemy fighters destroyed, Lisa reported. No damage to our ship. Kate Williams received a transmission from Zilani Prime, an alien voice speaking in broken human language. She put it on the main speakers so everyone could hear. Human ship. Please stop, the alien begged. We surrender. We will do anything you want. Please spare our children. The bridge went quiet. Some of the crew members looked uncomfortable. These were good people who didn't like killing. But they remembered New Portland. They remembered the human children who had died screaming. No response, Jake ordered. Continue the bombardment. More plasma beams struck the planets. The second planet, Zilani Beta, tried a different tactic. They launched nuclear missiles at the human ship. Hundreds of them, each one powerful enough to destroy a city. Ben Collins tracked the incoming missiles on his screen. Nuclear strike incoming, Captain. Impact in 30 seconds. Shoot them down, Jake said calmly. The Retribution's defense lasers swept across space. Every missile exploded harmlessly, their nuclear fire lighting up the darkness like tiny suns. The aliens' most powerful weapons were useless against human technology. Dr. Sam Turner moved between the crew stations, checking on his people. Some of them were getting sick from watching the destruction. Others were crying quietly. Killing was never easy for humans, even when it was necessary. The atmosphere on Zilani Prime is starting to burn, Amy reported. The plasma strikes are heating up their air. The whole planet will be on fire soon. Jake nodded. That was the plan. The Zilani had burned New Portland from orbit. Now they would learn what it felt like to have their own worlds turned to ash. The third planet, Zilani Gamma, tried to run. Their fastest ships loaded with refugees tried to escape the system. But the retribution was faster. Lisa Parker targeted the fleeing ships with long-range missiles. One by one, they exploded in space. "No one leaves," Jake said quietly. "They wanted to exterminate us. Now they get to see what extinction looks like." The plasma bombardment continued for hours. Cities turned to glass. Forests caught fire and burned. Oceans boiled away into steam. The aliens tried everything they could think of. They begged, they threatened, they offered tribute. Nothing worked. Kate Williams kept receiving messages from the dying planets, families saying goodbye to each other, children asking why the sky was on fire, parents trying to protect babies who would never grow up. "Captain," Kate said, tears running down her face, "maybe we've done enough. Maybe we should stop." Jake turned to look at her. His face was like stone. "Did they stop when our children begged for mercy on New Portland?" Kate looked down at her controls and said nothing. The bombardment went on. The plasma lances fired again, and again, each beam bringing more death to the worlds below. The Zalani's mighty empire was burning. Their homeworlds were dying. Everything they had built over centuries was turning to ash. Lisa Parker's console showed the results of their attack. "Zalani Prime is 40% destroyed, Captain. Zalani Beta is 30% destroyed. Zalani Gamma is 25% destroyed." "Keep firing," Jake ordered. Ryan Davis reported that the ship's weapons were working perfectly. The plasma generators had enough power to continue the attack for another 20 hours. The retribution had been built for this kind of warfare, long-range destruction of entire worlds. Some of the crew members asked Dr. Turner for medicine to help them sleep. They didn't want to dream about what they were doing, but most of them stayed at their posts, watching the screens, making sure every alien city burned. They thought about New Portland. They thought about human children playing in parks that would never exist again. They thought about families that had been murdered for no reason except alien hatred. The galaxy had taught humans a hard lesson. Mercy was weakness, and weakness meant death. The aliens had shown no mercy to defenseless colonists. Now, they would receive the same treatment. The plasma beams continued to fall like the wrath of angry gods, and the Zalani worlds continued to burn. 12 hours had passed since the bombardment began. The 3 Zalani worlds were dying. Continents burned under the endless rain of plasma fire. The oceans were boiling away into space. Where proud cities had stood, there were now only craters of melted stone. Kate Williams received another transmission from the planets below. This time it was from Zalani Beta, their industrial world. She put it on the main speakers without being asked. The alien voice was different from before. Older, more tired. "Human Captain," the alien said in perfect human language. "My name is Supreme Administrator Kethel. I am the leader of our industrial colonies. I know you can hear me." Jake Morrison listened but said nothing. The alien continued. "We know why you have come. We know what we did to your colony. It was wrong. I voted against the attack on New Portland, but I was overruled by the War Council. Please, I beg you, let me try to make this right." Ben Collins looked up from his intelligence station. "Captain, our records show this Kethel creature did speak against attacking human colonies. He was the only one on their council who opposed it." Jake's face didn't change. One alien who had tried to do the right thing didn't make up for millions who had cheered when human children died. The alien continued talking. "We will pay any price you demand. We will give you technology, resources, entire star systems. We will serve humanity for 1,000 years. Just please spare what's left of our people," Amy Foster reported from sensors. "Sir, I'm detecting massive refugee movements on all 3 planets. They're trying to get underground, into caves and bunkers. About 50 million aliens are still alive. 50 million out of 400 million. The human attack had been more effective than even Jake had hoped. But the job wasn't finished yet." "Captain," Kate said quietly, "what should I tell them?" Jake thought about that Supreme Administrator Kethel, one alien who had tried to save human lives, but Jake also thought about Admiral Vorthak, the Zalani commander who had ordered the attack on New Portland. Vorthak had laughed when he burned human children alive. "Tell them this," Jake said. "For every human child that died on New Portland, 10,000 aliens will die today. That's the price of murdering our families." Kate's hands hesitated over her controls. Sir, that means 23 million human deaths, 230 million alien deaths. The math is simple. Kate sent the message. A few minutes later, Kethel responded. His voice was breaking now. Please, Captain. The children hiding in the bunkers, they had nothing to do with New Portland. They don't even know what humans are. Can't you spare the children? Dr. Sam Turner looked up from treating a crew member who was having a panic attack. Captain, perhaps we could— No, Jake cut him off. Did they spare our children? Did Admiral Vorthak worry about human babies when he burned our schools? The bridge went silent. Everyone knew the answer to that question. Lisa Parker continued, firing the plasma lances. Each beam that hit the planets below killed thousands more aliens. The weapons were precise, targeting every remaining city, every bunker, every place where life might survive. Zalani Prime is now 70% destroyed, Lisa reported. Her voice was mechanical now, like a computer reading data. Zalani Beta is 65% destroyed. Zalani Gamma is 58% destroyed. Ryan Davis called out from engineering. Captain, we're getting some interference from the planet's magnetic fields. The plasma bombardment is causing electromagnetic storms. Should I compensate? Do whatever you need to do, Jake replied. I want every alien on those worlds dead before we leave this system. The crew worked in grim silence. They all knew they were committing genocide. They all knew this would haunt them for the rest of their lives. But they also knew it was necessary. Humanity was still small and weak compared to most alien empires. They had to send a message that would echo across the galaxy. Attack humans, and your entire species dies. Another transmission came in, this time from Zalani Gamma. It was a group of alien scientists who had been working on agricultural research. They offered to share all their knowledge with humanity if the bombardment stopped. They're offering us their entire database of farming techniques, Ben Collins reported. Some of this technology could help human colonies grow food on barren worlds. Jake considered this for a moment. The information could save human lives in the future, but accepting it would mean some aliens survived to tell others that humans could be bargained with. Destroy the transmission, Jake ordered. No deals, no mercy. The scientist's offer was deleted without being read. Kate Williams was crying now, but she stayed at her post. She kept monitoring alien communications as the planets died. Most of the transmissions were just families saying goodbye to each other. Parents singing lullabies to children who would never wake up. Old aliens telling stories about better times. Captain, Amy Foster said, I'm reading massive seismic activity on all 3 planets. The plasma strikes are breaking apart their tectonic plates. The planets themselves are starting to come apart. Jake nodded. The human weapons weren't just killing the aliens, they were destroying the worlds themselves. When this was over, these 3 planets would be nothing but fields of asteroids and cooling rock. Time to completion? Jake asked. Lisa Parker checked her targeting computer. At current rate of fire, total planetary destruction in 6 more hours, sir. 6 hours. In 6 hours, the Zalani Empire would lose its 3 most important worlds. Their government, their industry, their food production, all gone. Even if some Zalani survived on other worlds, they would never recover from this blow. Dr. Turner moved between the crew stations with sedatives and anti-nausea medication. Many of the humans were getting sick from watching the destruction. Their minds weren't built for this kind of mass killing. How are our people holding up, Doctor? Jake asked. They'll survive, Captain, Sam replied. But they'll need therapy when we get home. Lots of therapy. Jake understood that. He would need therapy too. But the alternative was worse. If humans showed weakness now, if they let the aliens think mercy was possible, then every human colony in the galaxy would be a target. The plasma bombardment continued. Hour after hour, the beams fell from space like the judgment of angry gods. The Zalani worlds burned under the relentless assault. Continents cracked apart. Oceans turned to steam. The very air caught fire and burned away into space. 90%. Destruction on Zalani Prime, Lisa reported. 85% on Zalani Beta, 80% on Zalani Gamma. Almost finished. Soon the job would be done, and the galaxy would know that humanity was not to be trifled with. The species that had once sent peaceful exploration ships would now be feared across 1,000 star systems. Jake Morrison watched the tactical display and waited for the end. Soon, 3 worlds would be dead, and the lesson would be taught. 18 hours after it began, the bombardment finally ended. The 3 Zilani worlds were dead. Where green planets had once orbited their star, there were now only chunks of burning rock floating in space. 400 million aliens had been reduced to ash and memory. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution and looked at the destruction they had caused. His crew sat quietly at their stations, exhausted from the long hours of killing. Many of them stared at empty screens, not wanting to see what they had done. "All targets destroyed, Captain," Lisa Parker reported. Her voice was hoarse from crying. "No life signs detected anywhere in the system." Jake nodded. The job was finished. The Zilani Empire's 3 most important worlds no longer existed. Their government was gone. Their military factories were gone. Their farms were gone. Even if some Zilani survived on distant colonies, they would never be a threat to humanity again. "Set course for Earth," Jake ordered. "We're going home." As the Retribution prepared to leave the dead system, Kate Williams picked up something on the long-range communications array. Ships were coming toward them from all directions. Not attack ships, but news vessels and diplomatic couriers from dozens of different alien species. "Captain," Kate said, "we're receiving transmission requests from over 30 different governments. They all want to talk to us." Word of the destruction had spread fast. In a galaxy where information traveled at the speed of light, news of 3 dead worlds was impossible to hide. Every alien civilization was now trying to figure out what this meant for them. The first message came from the Crex Confederation, a trading empire that controlled 50 star systems. Their ambassador appeared on the main screen, a blue-skinned alien with 4 arms and large black eyes. "Greetings, humans," the alien said, bowing deeply. "The Crex Confederation wishes to express our horror at the unprovoked Zilani attack on your colony. We have always believed that attacks on civilian populations are wrong. We would like to discuss increased trade between our peoples." Ben Collins pulled up files on the Crex. "Captain, 6 months ago, these same aliens were considering an alliance with the Zilani. They were talking about dividing up human space between them." Jake smiled coldly. "How quickly they change their tune when they see what happens to our enemies." The next message came from the Vorthak hegemony, a military dictatorship that had been expanding toward human territory. Their general appeared on screen, a reptilian creature covered in scars from old battles. "Human captain," the general said, "the Vorthak hegemony recognizes the strength of your species. We are withdrawing all our forces from the border zones near your space. We have no quarrel with humanity." Amy Foster checked her sensor records. "Sir, 2 weeks ago, the Vorthak had 3 battle fleets positioned near our colonies. They were planning something?" "Not anymore," Jake said. "Fear is a wonderful motivator." More messages came in throughout the day as they traveled toward Earth. The Thyrene Republic offered to share medical technology. The Nexus corporate state wanted to discuss mining rights. The Altarian Federation begged for protection from their enemies. Every alien government in the galaxy was suddenly desperate to be humanity's friend. They had all seen what happened to species that made humans angry. Kate Williams received a priority transmission from Earth. Admiral Carl Brooks appeared on the screen, a gray-haired man in his 60s who commanded all human military forces. "Captain Morrison," the Admiral said, "I've received preliminary reports about the Kepler operation. Please tell me you didn't really destroy 3 entire planets." "I did what was necessary, sir," Jake replied. "The Zilani threat has been eliminated." Admiral Brooks was quiet for a long moment. "Captain, the civilian government is in chaos. Half of them are calling you a hero. The other half are calling you a war criminal. They're demanding a full investigation." Jake had expected this. Humans were a moral species. They didn't like genocide, even when it was done to protect them. But the civilians didn't understand how dangerous the galaxy really was. "Sir, with respect, the civilians don't have to worry about alien fleets attacking their children. We do. I made sure no alien will ever underestimate humanity again." "You certainly did that," the Admiral said grimly. "Captain, when you get back to Earth, you're going to face a lot of questions. But I want you to know that the military leadership supports what you did. We've already seen the results." Ben Collins looked up from his communication station. Captain, I'm monitoring alien military channels across the galaxy. 7 different species have canceled planned attacks on human colonies. The Zephyrian Empire just offered to return 3 star systems they captured from us last year. The fear was spreading faster than the news. Alien generals who had been planning to attack human worlds were suddenly finding reasons to stay home. Species that had never even heard of humans before were asking their governments about diplomatic contact. Dr. Sam Turner finished his medical examinations of the crew. Captain, I'm recommending extended leave for everyone when we get back. What? We did hear. It's going to take time to process. Jake understood. His crew had done something that would echo through history. They had committed genocide to save their species. Some of them would never recover from that burden, but they had also saved millions of human lives. Every alien species that chose not to attack human colonies because they feared the retribution was a victory. Every diplomatic offer that came from fear rather than strength was proof that the mission had worked. Ryan Davis reported that the ship's systems were all functioning normally. The plasma lances had performed perfectly, never overheating or malfunctioning during the 18-hour bombardment. Human technology had proved superior to anything the aliens could build. As they traveled through space toward home, Jake thought about the future. Humanity was no longer the weak newcomer species that aliens could attack without consequences. They were now the predators, the ones that other species feared in the dark. It wasn't the future he had wanted when he first joined the military 20 years ago. Back then, he had dreamed of peaceful exploration and cooperation with alien civilizations. But the galaxy had taught him that peace was only possible when you were strong enough to enforce it. The bridge crew worked quietly as Earth grew larger on their screens. They were all changed by what they had done. They had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. They were no longer explorers or peacekeepers. They were humanity's sword of vengeance, and the galaxy would remember their work for 1,000 years. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human dominance had begun. 6 months had passed since the destruction of the Zalani worlds. The galaxy had settled into a new kind of peace, built on fear rather than friendship. Captain Jake Morrison stood in his quarters aboard the UES Retribution, looking out at the stars through his window. The ship was patrolling the outer edge of human space, but they hadn't fired a shot in months. They didn't need to. Kate Williams entered his quarters carrying a data pad. Captain, another diplomatic request just came in. The hegemony of Saren wants to discuss a non-aggression treaty. That makes 12 this week. Jake took the pad and looked at the message. The hegemony of Saren was a proud warrior culture that had never backed down from anyone. 2 years ago, they had been talking about conquering human space. Now they were begging for peace treaties. What do they offer? Jake asked. 3 star systems on our border plus exclusive mining rights to their dilithium deposits, Kate replied. They're also willing to hand over any Saren citizens who have committed crimes against humans. Jake smiled without humor. 6 months ago, the Saren had been protecting pirates who attacked human merchant ships. Now they were offering to turn over their own people to human justice. Tell them we'll consider it, Jake said. But we want twice as many star systems. Kate nodded and left to send the reply. Jake knew the Saren would agree to his demands. They had no choice. Every alien government in the galaxy had seen what happened to species that opposed humanity. Ben Collins called from the bridge. Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. Admiral Brooks wants to speak with you. Jake walked to the bridge and activated the communication system. Admiral Brooks appeared on the main screen, looking older and more tired than when Jake had last seen him. Captain Morrison, the Admiral said, I have news from the capital. The investigation into the Kepler operation is finally finished. Jake had been waiting for this moment for months. After he returned to Earth, the civilian government had put him through weeks of hearings and interviews. They wanted to know if he had exceeded his authority by destroying 3 entire planets. What's the verdict, sir? Jake asked. Officially, the committee found that you acted within the scope of your mission parameters, Admiral Brooks said. The attack on New Portland was classified as an attempt at human genocide, which authorized unlimited retaliation under military law. Jake felt relief wash over him. He wouldn't be court-martialed or imprisoned, but he could see there was more news coming. However, the Admiral continued, The president has decided that the retribution needs to be less visible for a while. Too many people are scared of what you represent. You're being reassigned to Deep Space Patrol. Stay out on the frontier and let things calm down at home. Jake understood. The politicians were afraid of him and his ship. They liked the results of his mission, but they didn't want to be associated with genocide. It was easier to send him away and pretend the retribution didn't exist. "Understood, sir," Jake replied. "We'll continue our patrol of the outer systems." After the communication ended, Jake looked around his bridge. His crew had all volunteered to stay with the ship even though they could have transferred to other assignments. They understood their role in the new galaxy. Amy Foster reported from her sensor station. "Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal from the Altair system. It's a human colony ship under attack by unknown aliens." Jake's eyes hardened. "How many attackers?" "Looks like a single cruiser, sir. They're demanding the colonists surrender their ship and submit to slavery." Some alien species still didn't understand the new rules. They thought they could attack isolated human ships without consequences. They were about to learn otherwise. "Set course for Altair, maximum speed," Jake ordered. "Signal the colony ship. That help is coming." The Retribution jumped to faster-than-light travel, covering the distance to Altair in just 2 hours. When they dropped out of hyperspace, Jake could see the situation clearly. A human colony ship carrying 5,000 settlers was being threatened by an alien cruiser 3 times its size. "This is Captain Morrison of the UES Retribution," Jake broadcast on all frequencies. "Alien vessel, you will cease your attack on human civilians and withdraw immediately." The alien ship responded with weapons fire, launching missiles at the Retribution. Their weapons bounced harmlessly off the human ship's shields. "Big mistake," Lisa Parker said from her weapons station. Jake nodded. "Destroy them." A single plasma lance beam shot out from the Retribution. The alien cruiser vanished in a flash of white light, vaporized instantly. The human colonists were safe. But Jake wasn't finished. He ordered Ben Collins to trace the alien ship back to its home system. If one ship from that species was attacking humans, there were probably more. "The ship came from the Zerion Collective," Ben reported. "They're a slave-trading empire about 50 light-years from here. They specialize in capturing other species for forced labor." Jake smiled coldly. "Kate, send a message to the Zerion government. Tell them they have 24 hours to release every human slave in their territory and pay compensation to the families. If they refuse, their homeworlds burn," the message was sent. Jake didn't expect the aliens to comply. Species like the Zerion only understood force. 24 hours later, the aliens sent their reply. They refused to release their human slaves and threatened to kill them all if the Retribution approached their space. "Their mistake," Jake said quietly. "Lisa, target their capital world. Full bombardment." The plasma lances fired across space, reaching the Zerion home world in minutes. The aliens had tried to evacuate their government, but human weapons were too fast. Within an hour, the Zerion Collective's leadership was dead and their capital city was a crater of melted glass. The remaining Zerions surrendered immediately. They released all their human slaves and offered to pay triple compensation. They also broadcast a message to every species in the galaxy, warning them not to attack humans under any circumstances. Dr. Sam Turner finished treating the rescued human slaves. Many of them had been tortured by their alien captors. "Captain," he said, "these people have been through hell. The aliens were planning to sell them to other slave traders." Jake nodded grimly. This was why the galaxy needed to fear humanity. Without that fear, aliens would keep treating humans like animals to be bought and sold. Over the following months, the Retribution continued its patrol of human space. They stopped 7 more attacks on human ships and colonies. Each time, Jake's response was the same: total destruction of the attacking force and severe punishment for their home governments. Word spread quickly. Attacking humans became the fastest way to commit suicide in the galaxy. Alien pirates found new targets. Slave traders avoided human space entirely. Military fleets that had been planning invasions suddenly discovered urgent business elsewhere. Ryan Davis reported that they hadn't needed to fire the main weapons in over a month. "Captain, our reputation is doing the work for us now. Just seeing us on their sensors is enough to make most aliens run away." Jake stood on the bridge and looked out at the stars. The galaxy was a safer place for humans now, but the cost had been enormous. 3 dead worlds and billions of dead aliens. His crew carried that burden every day, but children were being born safely on human colonies that would have been destroyed without that fear. Families were living in peace because their enemies were too terrified to attack them. Kate Williams looked up from her station. "Captain, incoming message from Earth. Another alien delegation wants to meet with human leaders. They're offering to share their most advanced technology if we'll sign a protection treaty." Jake smiled. The weak had become the strong. The prey had become the predator. Humanity now stood at the top of the galactic food chain, and every other species knew it. "Tell them we'll consider it," Jake said, "but first they need to prove their loyalty." In the cold darkness of space, the UES Retribution continued its eternal patrol. The ship that had burned 3 worlds now served as humanity's guardian angel, protecting the innocent by inspiring terror in the hearts of their enemies. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was no longer the naive newcomer species that could be bullied and murdered. They were the apex predator now, and they would do whatever it took to protect their own. Peace through strength, safety through fear. It wasn't the future Jake had dreamed of as a young officer, but it was the future humanity needed to survive, and survive they would, no matter the cost.